Hello, studio owners, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. Now, this week you are in for a treat because one of the most asked about topics is revenue and how studio owners we can increase our revenue. How are we able to run a business successfully, bringing home a profit, paying the bills, and enjoying ourselves at the same time? Well, this week I've got Amy Bett is coming on the podcast, and Amy is the founder of Lady Without Limits. She's also the co-founder of a new kava-based beverage company, Drink Mellow, a profit-first professional, and co-host of the Lady Without Limits podcast. Now, Amy failed in her first business because of a cash flow problem. And when she learned that more than 80% of business owners who don't succeed because of a cash flow problem, she set out on a mission to reverse that awful statistic. Now, as a profit-first professional, Amy discovered the only two numbers that matter in business and the formula for actually reaching financial freedom. And since she knows the financial struggles that business owners are facing right now, she's not about to slow down teaching business owners how to effectively manage their money and master their mindset. She is walking the talk and documenting her journey of creating her beverage brand package with the financial principles that she talks about. Now, Amy is a wife and a mother to three little ladies and lives in Victoria in Australia. And I am so excited to share this conversation with you. The other thing about Amy is she is coming up for the Business of Dance conference. She is one of our guest presenters, and also you will get to spend time in a small group with her asking her specific questions about finances and about how to set your business up for success. Now, I don't often come on before I start a podcast and talk about it, but the information that you will get from this is so important. So if you do have the opportunity to grab a pen, a piece of paper, get your laptop out to start taking notes, I highly advise that it will be worth it for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Dance Studio Empire podcast business series. This podcast is about building your studio empire, whatever that is for you, whether you're just getting started or striving to hit the elusive $1 million mark. This business series will give you the confidence and know-how you need to transform your studio and give you the business you've always wanted. So sit back and get ready to build your dance studio empire. Welcome everyone to the Dance Studio Empire podcast. I am really excited to have our next guest on for today. Her name is Amy Bett, and she is the owner of Lady Without Limits. And I'm really excited to have her because she is a finance professional, and I know a lot of studio owners, we are always looking for advice, anything that we can use within our business to obviously increase our revenue, but also ways to manage our revenue as well. So thank you so much for being with us today, Amy.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. I am ridiculously excited to be here and to chat to you today.
Amazing. So first of all, could you just share a bit about your journey and what inspired you to start Lady Without Limits?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely didn't come into the finance and money world out of having, a university degree when it comes to accounting or anything like that. I actually came into this field because I myself really struggled with cash flow and managing money when I had my first business. So I actually became a business owner out of necessity. My husband and I actually both worked for the Cotton On Group, and I worked for the foundation department, and I was managing charity fund runs all around Australia. To me, it was my dream job. I was in this really energetic team. We were raising money for great causes, and we were just doing really fun things. So I felt really content there, and I had no plans of changing that anytime soon. But I met the love of my life, and we got engaged, bought a house, married, and we were about to have my second child, Annie. And right at that time, he suffered a brain injury. He had a football accident that has forever impacted his frontal lobe. and it took him out of his career completely. So at that moment, when I think I was literally 8 or 9 months pregnant, he was finishing up at work. And so I was going on maternity leave, and he wasn't well enough to take care of Annie on his own. So we were just in this really weird predicament. And I knew that we had to come up with a solution very quickly, because I wasn't able to jump back into work full time. I knew that a business ownership was the way that I was going to be able to manage my time on my own schedule, and also, try and do my best to make up for Jay's income as well as my income. I thought that's the best chance that we have of getting through this period. He did have a little bit of insurance, but he wasn't updating his insurance as his income kept growing over the years. So his insurance was basically covering like 3/4 of a junior's wage, pretty much, because that he hadn't updated. So that's a big tip there. If anyone hasn't updated their income protection, please do that. And an income protection is, really obviously very important. Anyway, I digress. But basically, what I did have going for me was my corporate relationships in the city. I live in Barwon Heads in Victoria, but at the time I was living in Geelong, and the Cotton On office is in Geelong, and I had lots of big corporate relationships in our city. So I felt pretty confident that if I did go and start an event management company, that I'd be able to contact everyone and just see if I can start organising some events for them. And luckily, everybody basically started hiring me. Cotton On was contracting me. I was working for the Barwon Health Foundation, Country Road and David Jones. There was lots of different corporate organisations that had me manage their events. And so from the outside perspective, it looked so successful. I can imagine like a dance studio, if you've got heaps of kids or students in the door, and it looks bustling and vibing and it looks full, that is a success. However, I learned very quickly that business ownership is much more than just providing the service that you're there to do. There's a whole nother level underneath, and that includes adequately managing cash flow and paying taxes and paying yourself and understanding how much money you need every month to pay all of those expenses and hiring staff. Like, there were just so many extra layers that I was not prepared for. I had been very privileged in a way where I'd come from managing multi-million-dollar budgets. So there's always money there, right? To having to bootstrap it. And even though I was able to still, manage those big corporate events, their budgets were fine. It's very black and white. You book in things and you pay for it, and it's done. But then on the business side, I had to then have team members and pay taxes and pay myself and all of those things. And I just got such a culture shock. I had no idea what was going on with my finances. I didn't know how much I was really earning. I knew money was coming in, but so much money was just going out again. It's like we'd have a big influx of cash, and before we knew it, it was gone. And I just couldn't seem to get a handle on it. I'd call my accountant and say, what's going on? Like, are we profitable? Like, yeah, well, you're making money, but it's like sales minus expenses equals profit. And even though there's the profit on the profit and loss report that says there's a profit, it doesn't include any drawings if you're paying yourself drawings. So when I'd say, well, where is all of this profit? Like, oh no, you've already spent it. It's gone. And I was just, I got a really big lesson. And I stayed in that business over a 3 or 4 year period. And it got to the end, and I just felt like I was in no better place. I was managing bigger and bigger events, which outwardly looked really successful, but my stress levels were through the roof. And I just, we'd have wins, but so many losses at the same time. And I couldn't seem to work it out. So I felt so shameful. And I was just, I felt like this little failure, really. And so, but I did know that I couldn't keep going that way, because it wasn't, it wasn't going to work long-term for our family, particularly when I had to also cover my husband's wage as well. So I decided to get another part-time job while I worked out what I did and, went through that whole shame process. And it wasn't until I really knew that I wanted to be a business owner. I was so dedicated to being a business owner, because time freedom, income flexibility, there's a lot of great things about being a business owner, but I was just so scared because of my ability to manage cash flow. And so it wasn't until maybe a year later that I found the profit first method that I implemented it and just fell in love. And that's when I truly felt unstoppable. And that led to the journey of becoming a profit first professional myself and teaching it to business owners around Australia.
Yeah, I honestly, everyone listening would be just going, yes, that's me, and really relate to that story. For a lot of studio owners, they start because it's a passion, it's something they love. They go in, with a creative mind, and a lot don't think about the business side, and it's tricky because of the type of industry that it is. You need to have both, and usually, the best creatives they don't even want to know about the business side of it. However, these days we do, and it's really important. And we have to put food on the table. We have to be able to, put petrol in the car. The cost of living is so huge, and that's why I think a lot of studio owners do get stuck, particularly in the beginning. I know I talk about, trying to find those extra revenue streams and things like that, but it's almost the beginning of it. How do they get started? What's some advice about a studio owner that might be finding it hard to get started in managing their cash flow?
Yeah. Well, firstly, the good news is that it's not hard. And you might be like, what are you talking about? It's so hard, but it's actually not. One of the reasons that everybody struggles so much is because generally their money is all lumped together in one or two bank accounts, which makes it really difficult to actually have financial clarity over what is going on, because we get this false sense of security when there's money in the bank, like, oh yeah, we've got money to do things. Okay, it must be worth, like, we must be able to do it. And then we go into panic mode when there's no money, and we usually, become more resourceful and things like that. But the first issue is that people don't have clarity. And there's a really easy way to fix it. You actually just open multiple bank accounts, and you separate your cash flow by the different categories that we're responsible for as a business owner. So every single business is responsible for the same 5 things. And there are other bank accounts that you can open to even tailor it to your business even more. But for any business owner, firstly, it's just learning how to download your financial reports and read it in a way that's very simple so that you actually understand what's going on in your business. Like, what is your average monthly income? What is your average monthly expenses? How much have you been able to pay yourself? And firstly, is that in line with your goals and what you're working towards? Or can you recognize straight away that, hang on a second, my expenses are too high? You can do that analysis on your business. I find that's the first point when I take them through a cash flow analysis, and instantly they get such a revelation and they just have complete clarity over what's going on. That's the first step. If you haven't seen your cash flow broken down, you don't truly know how profitable you are or where you're sitting, it's really difficult to make those financial decisions. The truth is, numbers don't lie. You can find out, you can do this work in 20 minutes. It doesn't take very long, but it's so powerful because immediately you'll see where the roadblock is in your business. It might be that you're actually just not making enough income to pay for the general basic expenses that, as a dance owner, studio owner, you just need to pay. Sometimes it's not that you're overspending and cutting, you need to cut expenses. It could just be that you're not focusing on marketing enough and you're not getting the word out there and not having enough people coming into the studio. Or, you might be paying too much for staff, or you might be spending too much on expenses. Like, we've got to start there because we need to know what's going on in your situation. That's number one. Again, I promise you, if you learn how to do it, you can literally have this understanding within 20 minutes to half an hour. I do cash flow analysis on businesses every single week, from multi-million-dollar businesses to startups. And honestly, it's the same process. You get that clarity so quickly. Second step, once you've got that awareness, it's really just setting yourself up with a system that protects you from spending your money in the wrong way. So by opening up those 5 bank accounts, that's an income account, a profit account, an owner's pay account, a tax account, and an operating expenses account. They're the 5 main bank accounts. You can separate your cash flow into those bank accounts and have complete clarity that you've accounted for the things that you need to as a business owner. You've got your tax sitting over in a tax account, so you know that you're not accidentally spending it. because you've taken it out of your main bank account. Your owner's pay, you're able to factor in owner's pay and profit every week or every fortnight, and understand that you're taking care of it. The worst thing that we can do is manage our cash flow just using one or two bank accounts.
Wow. That's so good. I love how you just explained that. That's brilliant. And I think a lot of people will, take that on board. That's exactly where we sort of sit. And do you want to keep going with the steps, like the third step?
Yeah, sure. I just want to talk about profit for a second. So, mainly like actually, I'll go to the third step first. The third step is once you've got the cash flow analysis and you really understand what's going on in your business, you set up your bank accounts and you understand, you've set yourself up with a system to manage your cash flow. The next step is really making efficiencies in your business. So does anything need to change from the cash flow analysis? Do you need to cut expenses? Do you need to focus on making more revenue? Those efficiencies can be done reasonably quickly. You can cut the low-hanging fruit of cutting any unnecessary expenses. That's usually going to save businesses about 10 to 15% generally that quickly. And then the third step is actually just allocating, or the fourth step is allocating cash flow from their income account into their bank accounts. And the way that we do this, and I don't want to confuse people because people can hear these steps and be like, oh, it's overwhelming. But I promise when you break it down, it's actually so simple. But we actually use percentages. And the reason that we use percentages is because, two reasons. One, we work on averages. So I'm sure a lot of dance studios, depending on the way that they take payments, whether they take term payments or whether they take weekly or fortnightly payments, their cash flow can be inconsistent. So if they take all of their payments per term, for example, they're going to have a lot of cash flow in 1 month and then maybe not much at all for a couple of months. And then the next term, they'll have a lot of cash flow, right?
Very, very
for
much
a lot
so.
of dance, yeah. So I'm sure for a lot of dance studio owners, that becomes difficult to have clarity with how much cash flow they actually have. And I'm sure they have dips of scarcity and dips of, times of abundance. But by looking at it over an average, rather than this month and then this month and this month, they get to really see on average what their expenses are and what their cash flow is. And they can just move, like they can budget accordingly. Firstly, as a dance studio owner, I would probably recommend that you have a drip account if that's the way that it works. So when you get those big payments, you don't just have the money sitting there in a bank account that you can just easily spend. You actually take a big portion of it and put it in a drip account. So in the lower months, you've got cash flow sitting there to account for those smaller months of revenue. That's a really good way to manage that. Realistically, the way that you allocate your cash flow is going to be on a business to business basis, depending on the goals. We want to get really clear on what are the goals of the business. Like, am I trying to pay myself more? What am I trying to achieve? Because you can structure it depending on those goals. I mean, I'm not taking away the fact that we have the similar rules in terms of everybody have at least those 5 bank accounts. We figure out what your percentages are using averages. We look at your cash flow and go, okay, what are my averages? And we make sure that you've got enough money in each bank account to pay for your taxes and things that you need to. But we can then add that bit of magic on top and be like, okay, well, what am I working towards? Because it might be that you're trying to buy a house. And so you need to pay yourself as much as possible. So we can adjust things to make it work for you, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is so good. And I hope our listeners are, taking notes as you're saying this. But also, just on a side note, for those of you who are really interested in this, Amy's actually going to be one of our guest presenters at the Business of Dance conference, which is coming up in July. And so, if you're coming, Amy's, going to do a presentation to you guys. And then as we split into our smaller groups, you'll be able to ask her specific questions about your situation. So that's definitely a bonus to have you there.
Yeah. I'm so excited to be there, by the way. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be a really great day. So thank you for making the trip. Earlier on, you mentioned that you're a profit first professional. Could you go into more detail about what that is?
Yeah, sure. So profit first, and I probably should have brought that in at the start, is a cash flow management method that Mike Michalowicz, he was a crazy big entrepreneur in America, and he still is a massive entrepreneur. He's written countless books and he's very, very intelligent. But the best thing about him is that he really explains things in third grade language. Like anyone can understand what he's trying to say, which is what sets him apart from so many people. And it's why I fell in love with him and actually did those steps myself first before even becoming a Profit First professional. So there's the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and you can go and buy the book and you can implement the method into your business yourself now. Right now, you could implement the book and follow the step-by-step process that he gives you. Where Profit First professionals come in is we sit underneath Mike Michalowicz's arm, I guess. So there's an Australian Profit First professionals organisation, which, as I said, is linked to Mike Michalowicz. And it's a organisation of accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches like myself. And we're really here to help business owners to tailor the Profit First method to their business. Because how many times have you read a book and you've had great intentions and you've gone to implement something, but something hasn't quite worked for you, or, you know, you haven't quite understood something, and then you're stuck, and then you don't go through with actually implementing the method into your business and thriving with it? Well, Profit First professionals are there to bridge that gap for you and help you to break it down into simple steps, give you the tools like the calculators that make it so easy to understand, and just guide you through the process and be there for accountability as well. So that's the beauty of Profit First professionals. They're really there to support you through the process and make sure that you've got it, tailored to your business specifically. Because if you do that, if you do have it tailored to your business, the Profit First cash flow method will last for your business for the lifetime of your business, and it fits within absolutely any business model at all. You just might need to make a few little adjustments to make it work for you. There are literally multi-million dollar businesses that are thriving. You can use it as a startup. Mind you, I actually suggest that you do use it as a startup, because the quicker that you have this method in your business and you have the clarity and the awareness of what's going on, the quicker you can start thriving and become wildly profitable.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And yeah, it really is something, unless you know it, you don't know how to implement it. And I guess that's and the beauty of, there's information everywhere. As you said, we can get the book and work it out, but it's just that one-on-one with someone who actually knows your situation, how it's going to work for you. That's, that is the power of coaching, isn't it?
Yeah. And I try and make it as easy as possible, because I don't want business owners to think that it's got to be this huge task that's going to take them forever to learn a new process, and they've got to get a finance degree themselves to make it work in their business. I don't believe that at all. And which is why I've created a program that allows them to, like, step by step go through the program, have calls with me just to quickly tailor it to them. And then usually they're off and going, and usually I don't need to hear from them again, or, I might hear from them once every 3 months. My program gives them 12 months of access to weekly calls. But I usually find that business owners, once they get it, they get it. They've got someone to bounce off to ask their specific questions, and then they're on a roll. And honestly, the results and the testimonials, I guess you can say, of what people have said once they've started implementing this into their business has just been wild, absolutely wild. And it excites me, because I've got business owners that have been working in business for 20 years, and they're like, oh my God, if only I'd known this 20 years ago. That's kind of the power of this. It's really for business owners to help them to manage their cash flow in a way that works for the business owner, not for the accountant who's in spreadsheets all day, every day. And they, it's not set up for business owners. We need to manage money in a way that we actually handle our money.
Yeah, look, and you hit the nail on the head with it. It's just, it can come across so complicated. And for, particularly creatives who don't really want to spend time and energy trying to learn new processes, it can be overwhelming. And it's easier just to, sweep it under the rug and not actually implement it. And again, as you just said too, like, the process doesn't have to be hard or complicated, but we just have to start taking those actions. And I mean, even just the way you're explaining it here in this short interview, is making it so much easier and clearer. So I'm sure anyone who does work with you would absolutely, benefit from that. So that's That's really good. What about mindset? Do you think mindset plays a big part as well?
Oh my goodness, huge, absolutely huge. And, we all have to work on our money mindset. Even when we, transform our money mindset, there's always going to be new things in a bigger way that we need to conquer and up level. So we need to be focusing on our money mindset all of the time. Now, for people that don't really realize what our money mindset is, it's the belief system that you have around money, and you've formed your beliefs from a young age. And often we adopt the beliefs of the people that are around us. And, we've been thinking that way for years and years and years. So over that repetition, the way that you think is usually the way that you act, and it's what we kind of co-create in our life. And so I see lots of business owners not taking action and not getting the help that they need because they just believe that they're crap at money. And that just belief there, that one belief stops them from even taking action because they just believe that, I've tried a few things before, it's not going to work for me. That was me. I had that belief. If I had told myself 5 years ago that I would be sitting here talking to you on a podcast, talking about cash flow management, I would have laughed in your face because I would have laughed in my own face, because it was so far from my reality at the time. I always grew up just thinking that, I'd get $5 from mum and dad and I'd be straight down the cafe buying hot chips and gravy. Like I would spend it the second that it would come into my hands. And I would never struggle to really make money, but it would always be gone just as quickly. And I was repeating that pattern over and over again. So it's really important to recognize what money beliefs that we have and then make sure that we're working on transforming them, because we're not going to act in different ways, or we're not going to attract different things if we have our same beliefs. There's an awesome book that I love so much. It's called Happy Money by Ken Honda. And he really explains the process of like feelings that you give to money, which sounds so woo-woo, but it's true. If you're like feeling so crap when you're tapping your card every time, you're basically projecting that on money. Like you're physically repelling money away from you, right? Think about it like this. I like to use the analogy of when you walk into the room and someone's in a really bad mood, and instantly even though you can't physically, they're not doing anything to you, or you can't physically see it necessarily, you can feel it immediately, and that your mood immediately morphs into their mood. Like you're instantly in a bad mood, you feel shaky, you feel whatever. If we're always doing that to money, money's not going to want to be near us. And it sounds a bit woo-woo, but I can't tell you how much it's true. And so if we can just even focus on a few small things, like saying thank you and in your head, you don't have to say it out loud and look a bit weird, but, paying a bill, tapping your card, just say thank you. Like how amazing that I've got the cash to buy myself a meal out, or, when you pay your electricity bill, thank you. Like how amazing that I've got electricity. The way that you transform your thoughts and feelings is going to transform your whole life. So I like to think about your cash flow system as like the bricks and mortar of your life when it comes to money, I'm talking about, because if you think about it, if you don't know how to manage money and you don't have the awareness anyway, regardless of what you do with your money mindset, you're going to feel out of control when it comes to money anyway. So it's so important to understand the foundations of managing your cash flow. But then the money mindset work is just like the cream on top. It's the magic, it's the abundance, it's how we, attract more into our life.
I'm so glad you said that. And it reminded me of when I was younger. So in my late teens, because I started my studio very young, I was earning, and back in those days, people were paying cash. And so I had a lot of cash coming in because we didn't spend like we do these days. And I'm naturally a saver. And so I was getting a lot of cash coming in. And so I was watching things, and it was on TV because internet wasn't even a thing back then. But, and I remember this episode of Oprah, and she was talking about, money and how we need to be really respectful of it. And even things like she did have a guest on, I can't remember who the guest was, but, and how just putting your cash in order and the right way around, and how
it might have been Ken Honda, because he talks about,
maybe. Yeah.
He's been around for ages.
Well, and from that day, I'm not joking, I still to this day will put cash in order. I put like notes in order and I make sure they're all the way the same way around, to the point where my husband laughs at me, because if he's seeing me, flick through cash, he'll see how quickly I can turn it the correct way. And it's
That's
just, it's
amazing.
something, yeah. And I really believe, that it is an energy, right? Money is just another energy that we have to experience in life. And, at that point where we, as you say, just stop being afraid of it, or and just start changing our mindset around it, it can make such a huge difference. So yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for bringing that up. That was really good.
No, that's okay. Do you want me to quickly share a daily practice that can just really help, which is really, I guess, relatable to even mums? Like, I've got 3 daughters myself, so I know what it's like to be a busy mum, busy businesswoman, and not having a lot of time. But I've got this daily practice that helps you to focus on what it is that you really want in life, and also transform your beliefs and feelings around money. Do you want me to quickly share it?
Would love that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's super simple. Just get any journal. It doesn't have to be a fancy notebook, whatever. Just get a journal. And then what you're going to write at the top of the page is the date. And then today is an amazing day. You can do it in the morning. You can do it at night, but try and do it every day if you can. If not, a few times a week. Like, it's going to make a big difference. And then at the start, you write 3 things that you're grateful for. And just think about anything that day that you feel grateful for. For example, I often write, I'm so grateful for Jay, my husband, making me a coffee, because he makes really good barista made coffee. And it literally is like the highlight of my day. I don't say it every day, because we've got to change it up every day, because the whole point is to get us feeling grateful. We want to feel good. Okay. The second thing is 3 affirmations. So that's 3 things that you'll want to work on, but basically that you write them as though they've already happened. So for example, if you're working on money or relationships, it might be like, money flows to me in abundance always. Or, I'm surrounded by incredible people that support my dreams. So you say them as though they've already happened. And again, you change them up so that you're feeling them. The whole point of the gratitude and the affirmations is to get into that zone of feeling. Then you write 5 goals. Now, these goals you set for yourself, and they don't change until you've either achieved them or they no longer align with what you want, right? So 3 things you're grateful for, 3 affirmations as though they've already happened, and then 5 goals that stay the same, but you've got to write them as though they've already happened. Now, the reason that this is so powerful is because, 1, we're focusing our mind on what we want. And because we're doing it regularly, it's that art of repetition. So how I was talking before about how our money mindset beliefs got formed because we thought them over and over and over again, and that became our reality. Well, we've actually got to do the work and transform them by repetition, and writing them down is really powerful. And I did this daily practice as part of a money mindset group coaching thing that I did a few years ago with, I think it was about 16 women. And the one thing that we committed to was over 6 weeks, we committed to this daily practice. And I had done it for myself, but I'd never taught it before. And, I'd heard Bob Proctor and some of the massive money mindset gurus talk about it, but I cannot tell you the results that was coming out of this daily practice of people doing, like, one girlfriend called me and she's like, Amy, I finally did my tax after 4 years, thinking that I would have to pay this huge bill, and I'm getting a $17,000 refund that she hadn't expected. Now, some people can say she was going to get that anyway, and probably, but she wouldn't have done her tax if she hadn't have been going through that process. And so it encouraged her to take those action steps and really get her life organized and whatever. And just so many people were just having all of these unexpected little miracles happen that they thought was outside of their control. One of my goals lists back then was, I really wanted my daughter to go to Geelong College. So I had my first daughter when I was 20, pregnant at 19. And I used to live in Newtown where Geelong College is. And I used to walk up past the school every day. And I remember pushing her in the pram going, don't worry, Lily, even though you've got a young mum, I promise you're not going to miss out. You're going to go to Geelong College, right? And I had that on my goals list. And I'd been doing it for the year. At the time when I started it, our financial position was in no way a place that I could send her to Geelong College. But on the list, I'd write, Lily's at Geelong College. She's in year 7 and she's thriving. She's now in year 8 at Geelong College and she is thriving and she's got the best little social group. But if I had have not focused on it, what we focus on expands. So if I hadn't have focused on that every day, there's no way that she would be there. I wouldn't have even been having it on my mind. I would have thought it's probably not actually possible. I wouldn't have called the school to get an interview, to do the thing, to make it happen. So by keeping what we actually want really focused, things are going to start happening. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That resonates with me a lot. So, because I'm really a true believer of that as well. So, thank you. And I'm sure the people listening are now, if you didn't have a pen and paper when Amy was talking through those points, make sure you go back and listen. I absolutely am. Well, look, I let's wrap it up for today. I'm really grateful for you being here. One last question before you can let people know where to find you is, I just love to know who you're listening to or who's inspiring you at the moment. I just love knowing what's getting to our guests at the moment.
Oh, that's a really good question. So I love podcasts. Two that I'm listening to at the moment that I listen to really regularly is Lewis Howes, The School of Greatness. I listen to a lot of his episodes. I'm also listening to he's got this other podcast that is just short 7-minute like inspiration episodes from different guests that he's interviewed. And so I love that one as well. I also listen a lot to, what's that called? Diary of a CEO.
Yes.
I like him. And lastly, just to shut my mind off, because, we're all busy business people, I love a bit of Shameless. Shameless is just pop culture that's just really easy to listen to. And it makes me feel part of, society and understanding what's going on. It makes me feel current. My 14-year-old daughter listens to it too, which is weird. But yeah, they're the three things I'm listening to that give me, inspiration, but also joy. Shameless gives me lots of joy.
Yeah. Oh, look, I love it. And a great balance as well. So
Exactly.
as I did mention earlier to our listeners, Amy is going to be at the Business of Dance conference, the 7th of July in Sydney. I'm beyond excited to have you. I mean, especially after the conversation we've just had now. And I know the people who are listening who are going to be there will be really excited. So guys, make sure you get your questions ready. She clearly knows what she's talking about, which is great. Okay, can you let us know where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. So the easiest way to find me is just at my website, amybett.com, amybett.com. I've got a free masterclass on there. There's some free resources that you can check out and have a look at. And if I can't wait to meet you in person, if you're coming to the event next month, I'm really excited to show you, like break it actually down for you further and just help to make it a lot more simple and achievable for you as a business owner to implement into your life. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Well, I encourage people to check you out, definitely online, because your words have been really powerful today, and I know they will change the lives of many studio owners as they continue to build their empire. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jen. I can't wait to give you a cuddle in person next month.
I know, not long. It'll be here before we know it. So thank you.
Get ready to be inspired and challenged by some of the most innovative and forward-thinking experts in the industry. Our speakers and thought leaders bring a unique perspective and a wealth of knowledge that will help you take your business to the next level. No matter where you are in your business journey, whether you are just starting out or you are striving to reach that coveted $1 million mark, the Business of Dance conference is designed to empower you with the knowledge and confidence you need to transform your studio into the thriving business you've always dreamed of. Get ready to unlock new potentials, new possibilities, and gain fresh insight with like-minded professionals who are just as passionate about your success as you are. Tickets are now on sale, so make sure you grab them before they run out. I will leave a link below, and I can't wait to see you there.